Loud noise. Can't hear because I didn't turn the volume on. Oops. How about now? Good evening, everyone. I hope we had a wonderful weekend. It definitely does help Pippadot if I turn the volume on. My bad. Zelda, Gemma, Pippadot, Kirikou, Ivory Lady. I hope we all had a great weekend. Thank you for joining me tonight for Trivia Night. Tonight we're answering questions about the creepy clown, John Wayne Gacy. All the questions are on John Wayne Gacy. Scrolling on the bottom of your screen there is Today in Serial Killer History. This is the Boston Strangler, Robert DeSalvo, or DeSalvo, or however you want to pronounce it. Killed his last victim on today's date. Your weekend was rubbish. Been feeling really down, but I'm slightly feeling better now. Well, I hope you feel a lot better, sweetheart. And yes, everyone, remember to be on live chat or all chat, not top chat. Good evening, Kathleen and Gianna. Welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you both had a terrific weekend. Glad you could join us tonight for trivia. Give another minute here for people to pop in. Good evening, left-handed RN. Welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you had a great weekend. Sweet Universe, good evening. Welcome to tonight's trivia. Cement shoes. Long time no see is unreally long time. I hope you're doing well, Cement Shoes. You've been the subject matter of quite a few people asking over this course of time, where is Cement Shoes? How is Cement Shoes? What's going on with Cement Shoes? Regardless, I hope that you're doing well. I really do. I'm glad you could be here for trivia tonight. All right, let's get trivia night going. Before we jump into trivia night, you're going to see that everything looks a little bit different in how it's displayed on the screen. And each and every one of the trivia questions is rated on a scale: easy, medium, and hard, and unranked. All right. But you'll see it. We're going to go through the entire thing so you'll understand. New year, new way of making it better for everyone. This is the 389th episode of True Crime Trivia. This trivia night is intended solely for entertainment and educational purposes. At no point do we diminish or disrespect the victims or survivors, nor do we place the perpetrator on a pedestal or present them in a manner that, in my admiration, my educational background is in journalism and research, And every question presented tonight is supported by verified facts and documented sources. All questions are presented in a multiple choice format. Participation is individual. There are no teams, no logins required, and no fee to pay. This event is entirely free and designed simply for enjoyment. Participants are welcome to keep score if they choose, but it is equally acceptable to play without tracking correct answers. Remember again to be on live chat or all chat, so you will see the answers as they come in, and so you can keep up with the questions and answers without a delay. John Wayne Gacy was born March 17th, 1942, died May 10th, 1994, was an American serial killer sex offender who raped, tortured, and murdered at least 33 young men and boys between 1972 and 1978 in Norwood Park Township, a suburb of Chicago, Illinois. He became known as the Killer Clown due to his public performances as a clown to discovery of his crimes. Gacy committed all of his known murders inside of his ranch-style home. Tonight's trivia questions will focus on the following areas: the offender's general background, the crimes committed, and the investigation and sentencing, and the methods of operation. Future trivia nights may also include verified but lesser known details, personal habits, failed attempts, family background, and criminal activity beyond homicide. That is in the future, as I want you just to get used to the format and how the questions are ranked. Each question is rated in the following ways: easy, medium, or hard. Each question has the same value. One question, one correct answer if you get it correct. You will see the following on each and every one of the trivia questions. An easy button. Easy are general knowledge questions, more widely known and found in print material and online. Medium, lesser known facts, commonly known more by those who have read or studied subject matter a little. Hard are commonly known to more true crime fans. Questions that are half of those who have done trivia on the subject matter may have missed. Not ranked. Not ranked trivia questions that normally come up only in the final trivia or bonus questions. Very limited data on how many people got them correct. All trivia questions that I will be using for 2026 come from U.S. Crime Trivia. That is the company. All the subject matter is still suggested by you, the viewer, but the questions have to be coming from U.S. Crime Trivia. I have signed a one-year agreement with U.S. Crime Trivia to supply all of the questions for 2026. There are no questions that come from me. All right. Without further delay, let's get ready to rumble on some trivia. As you can see here, this is how the format now looks. At the top, you will only see question and question number. Gone is the subject matter line and other things that used to be at the top, like a moth and other things. You will see the easy, hard, or medium, or not ranked button underneath where it says trivia night. And then there is the picture that is associated with the question. And underneath that, it says host, Will Finley. That is me. And then you will see my face right here. That is how the trivia questions will be laid out for 2026. So with that in mind, question number 1. What medical condition did Gacy falsely claim to have as a child to explain school behavior and absences? Was it A, epilepsy, B, a heart condition, C, narcolepsy? I got tongue-tied there for a second. And D are chronic fatigue and blackouts. Yeah, I know the A is missing instead. There's an S instead. And as always, tonight's trivia is brought to you by Liquid Death. It's not a sponsored product. I just drink it every damn trivia night. Good evening, Sal. Welcome to tonight's trivia, Sal. I hope you had a great weekend. Glad you could be here with us tonight for trivia. Smoke them if you got them. Question number 1 of 20. If you are on live or all chat, you should see question number 1 and the answers that people are putting in the comment section right now. Question number 1. The correct answer to question number 1 is B as in boy. He said he had a chronic heart condition and it made him fatigued and he could not, make himself do certain things. He couldn't participate in gym class. He couldn't, do and carry heavy objects. It was all a lie. He started this rumor and this entire thing when he was just a little kid. And he continued with these ruses his entire life. Sweet universe, they should, but they don't do endorsements or product placements in videos on YouTube. But they should. All righty. Question number 2. What was Gacy's contracting business called? Was it A, GHR, B, PDM, C, CHR, or D, JWG? And this is a medium in difficulty question. As you can see from your left-hand side there, all of the easy, medium, hard, and unranked questions will be in the same places every single week. Obviously, the questions will be different, but the buttons don't change. He was a go-getter, Gacy. I wouldn't call him lazy. He just figured out a way to manipulate people from starting at a young age and then just work that to the fullest extent. Jamma and Cement Shoes are going with B. Kathleen, Ivory Lady, and Gianna Marie are going with A. Question number 2 of 20. The correct answer to question number 2 is B as in boy. B as in boy is the correct answer for question number 2. Question number 3. What item recovered from Gacy's home was the key in linking him to multiple murders? Was it A, a wallet, B, a blood-stained rope, C, handcuffs, or D, a class ring engraved JAS? Question number 3 of 20. Question number 3. What could it be? Got a D as answers. Question number 3. Question number 3. The correct answer is D as in dog. A class ring was found at the home that led to one of the victims. It was engraved with his initials, JAS. And that ring is what you see on the screen there, was engraved JAS. Question number 4. Which employee was instrumental in leading police to Gacy due to repeated disappearances? Was it A, Michael Rossi, B, Jeffrey Ringel, C, Robert Priest, or D, Timothy McCoy? Question number 4. Which employee was instrumental in leading to Gacy? Good evening, Short and Eyes. Question number 4. Which employee was instrumental in leading police to Gacy due to repeated disappearances? Question number 4. The correct answer is C, as in cat. Robert Peast is the employee who the police were following up leads of disappearances of, and it brought him to Gacy's front door. Question number 5. Gacy often used which method to incapacitate victims before murdering them? Incapacitate. Was it A, drugs or alcohol, B, handcuffs or rope, C, strangulation, or D, psychological terror? Question number 5 of 20. Gacy often used which method to incapacitate victims before murdering them? Do, 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 boop, boop, dee, dee, boop, boop, doop, boop. 411 now, the host with the most. Well, it says right there. The host with the most. Host with the most. Question number 5. The correct answer to question number 5 is B as in boy. Handcuffs or rope. He had a handcuff trick and he had a rope trick that he supposedly was they were magic tricks. And they would willingly put them on. And then, well, not shortly thereafter, Gacy killed them. Question number 6. How many bodies were found in Gacy's crawl space? Was it A, 26, B, 27, C, 29, or D, 33? Question number 6 of 20. How many bodies were in the crawl space? Good evening, Lemon Pie. Well, where is Lemon Pie? That's a good question. We're missing the person who would say, watching Jersey Shore. Lemon Pie hasn't was around last weekend. Maybe they're busy tonight. Mel, good evening, Mel. Welcome to tonight's trivia, Mel. I hope you had a great weekend, Mel. Thank you for joining us tonight for trivia night. And Happy New Year to you. I hope the holidays were joyful and stress-free. How many bodies were in the crawl space underneath Gacy's house? Question number 6. The correct answer is D, as in dog. 33 victims were found in the crawl space underneath Gacy's house. Question number 7. What unusual problem slowed the evacuation of the crawl space at Gacy's house? Was it A, frozen ground, B, toxic mold, C, standing sewage water, or D, collapsing beams? And the picture you see there is of them excavating the entire crawl space underneath the house before the house was demolished. What unusual problem slowed the excavation of the crawl space at Gacy's house? I'm glad you're here too. Maybe they're on the Jersey Shore binge. Question number 7 of 20. Kitty is going with A? Question mark? I don't know. Could be. Oh my goodness. Why can't I remember? Question number 7. The correct answer is C, as in cat. Standing sewage water. Gacy was actually somewhat correct in his initial lies about why he bought so much lye and dumped it underneath the house. He said it was because when it rained, the water would collect up underneath the house and it would lead to a musty smell. And that's why he bought all of the lye and was pouring it underneath the house. Well, that was partly true. What Gacy also didn't realize was, yes, there was water, and because of the way that the ground was, and where the house was built, it would collect up water outside in the yard and underneath the house. But he also had a broken sewer pipe the entire time and didn't even realize it. He couldn't investigate it because he had all those bodies buried underneath the house. So when they went in to excavate the crawl space, looking for piece by piece for evidence to all of the murders and the disposal and burial of all the bodies, they found that the sewer pipe was broken and they had to dig up down several feet below where they needed to go just to be able to shut the sewer pipe off that was flooding into the crawl space. But standing sewer water, yum yum, get you some of that, huh? Question number 8. What did Gacy do with each body before putting it in the crawl space? Was it A, redress the body, B, wash the body for hours, C, comb their hair for hours, or D, took photos with body? Question number 8 of 20. What did Gacy do with each body before putting it in the crawl space? Yes, Kitty, Pippadot. Yes to your question. In the Des Plaines River. In the Des Plaines. Not Tac 2. Tac 2 would say, Des Plaines, Des Plaines. In Gacy's situation, it was Des Plaines River. DESPLAINE. Des Plaines. Des Plaines River. Not Des Plaines. Kitty is going with the C question mark this time. I don't know. The correct answer to question number 8, ladies and gentlemen, is A as in apple. After he murdered each and every one of the young men, he stripped them completely naked, and then he redressed them. Gacy went to a local J.C. Penney department store and purchased individual sized, pairs of underwear, like the not boxers, but briefs, like you see there on the screen. He bought them one pair at a time. Kill a victim, buy underwear. Kill another victim, buy underwear. Over and over again, until right before the last one, when he bought more than one pair. It was the only time, according to the clerk from J.C. Penney's in her statement, that they ever saw him buy more than one pair. Maybe he thought law enforcement was closing in on him and he needed to, buy multiples and kill multiple people at the, soon. But it's the only time he ever purchased multiple pairs. Otherwise, he bought one pair at a time. And every clerk, that rang him up always thought, that's a little odd because he's buying underwear that are definitely too small for his fat ass. But he did it anyways. But he redressed them. They're naked, and then he put, brand new, clean underwear on them. Some of them he put other clothing on. Others he buried just in a pair of underwear. And that was the only clothes that they got. Question number 9. Where did Gacy discard the bodies after the crawl space was full? Pippadot. Was it A, Des Plaines River, B, Michigan Creek Overlook, C, the Fox River, or D, Lake Michigan? And good evening, Interpeas. Welcome to tonight's trivia, Interpeas. I hope you are doing well, and I hope you had a great weekend. Say hello to our old friend, Cement Shoes. Where did Gacy discard the bodies after the crawl space was full? Yeah, because if he was buying for his son, he'd buy a pack of 12. The ones I buy for my son, I think they come in a pack of 4. Question number 9. 9. Where did Gacy discard the bodies once the crawl space was full? The correct answer is A as in apple, Des Plaines River. Not the plane, this plane. Question 10. How many murders does the FBI believe Gacy is really responsible for as of his capture? Was it A, 38, 39 of them? B, 41, C, 36 or 37, or D, 42? Des Plaines. Oh, heck yeah, sweet universe. He's 9 years old right now. And every time I catch up on buying clothes and shoes, particularly shoes and pants for him, he outgrows them. That's the part of the life that they, especially people who don't have children. I mean, I've already raised one. She's 26, but and our son's 9, but he's growing like crazy. Get caught up buying clothes for him and got to go right back out and buy more. Des Plaines, pronounced with all the S. True. Very true. Kitty Kid's going A? Question mark? I don't know. Could be. Could be 38, 39. I don't know. What does the FBI say? The correct answer to this question, how many murders does the FBI believe Gacy is really responsible for? The correct answer is A as in apple. They believe his actual murder count is either 38 or 39. 36 is what he was actually convicted of. And we know, well, he was sentenced for 33. But A as in apple, they believe that he killed 38 or 39. There are 2 murders that match the same MO as John Wayne Gacy from downtown in the metropolitan area of the downtown of Chicago itself. Both of those individuals were lured away from gay nightclubs and they were dumped in bodies of water. This would have put it, and Gacy was available at the time. If you look at the timeline when these murders took place and when the bodies were dumped, they could be Gacy's, but Gacy never admitted to them or said he knew anything about them. That he remembered only seeing it in the newspaper. Of course, he also said that he didn't kill any of these, the men underneath the house, and that was, one of his victims that he killed because he was killing another. Yeah. Gacy never took responsibility for even the day of his death. He never took full responsibility for all the crimes that he committed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the first half of our trivia night. Before, we used to take a 7-minute break. Now we will take between a 5 to 6 minute break while I cover 2 cases of missing and endangered from around the United States and Canada. Yes. Oh, it's an ever-growing adventure here. I am proud to be partnering with organizations such as the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, the Charlie Project, the FBI, and coming on this year, I'm also adding the Alaska Bureau Investigation for Indigenous Missing Persons units, along with the RCMP. Those are 2 new ones that I'm bringing on this year, along with, obviously, from last year, NAMUS, along with local and state and federal law enforcement agencies. Together, we aim to shine a spotlight on these missing cases and support the families impacted and keep these stories alive in hopes to bring in a resolution. Bringing on the Alaska Bureau of Missing, and the Royal Mounted Police in 2026 demonstrates that meaningful progress is being made and that law enforcement recognizes the impact of my work. I ask that you give your full attention to each of the missing and endangered individuals highlighted here for complete transparency, because I got a lot of backlash in 2025 over this. None of these agencies pay me. I do this because I care and because I have a family member who is missing. I understand how even the smallest lead can help bring someone home. The missing and endangered you are about to watch is the longest running such program on the internet. There are two other programs that covered missing and endangered people on the internet on a weekly or monthly stream, but I am so far beyond them and total length of time of doing this. But law enforcement recognizes the progress that I am making and are asking and reaching out that I highlight cases that they have that they want to see solved as well. And that's from the Alaskan Bureau of Missing Indigenous People and the Royal Mounted Police. These are the three highlighted cases that that I'm highlighting every single week until June. April Dawn Andrews has been missing since 2006. You've seen her all of last year on the before trivia. I mean, the missing and endangered during trivia. But I'm also adding Anna Marie Wellborn, who has been missing since 2001, and Sylvania Morris, who has been missing since 2016. Anna Marie Wellborn is connected to a missing case out of Alaska, or she wasn't missing from Alaska, but she's connected to it. Another individual who disappeared in Alaska may be connected to Anna Marie Wellborn. Sylvania Morris, there is a person of interest in her disappearance that may be connected to an indigenous person who disappeared and may be of another victim from the state of New Mexico. Again, I'm featuring all three of them until June of 2026, when I will have new ones. But April Dawn Andrews will stay until she calls me directly and tells me to stop. Never give up hope. The oldest missing person case was solved in 2024. She had been missing for 43 years when found alive and well. She didn't even know that she had been reported missing and that her mother had taken her away from the custody, against the custody agreement, and her father all those years. She believed her father died and that her and her mother just moved. But after 43 years, she was reunited with her biological family from both sides that she was told was dead all those years. Our first case this week is Samantha Bratcher. She goes by either the last name additionally of Langley or Smith. So if she's out there someplace, she will be going by the first name of Samantha or Sam or Sammy. But she has in the past used the last names of Langley or Smith. She was 32 years of age when she vanished. She is now 36 years of age in 2026. She is a Caucasian female. She disappeared from Central City, Kentucky. Last seen on 11/5 of 2021. Her height is 5'5", weight 150 pounds. Her hair is brown, but she often colors it to a burgundy color, and she has blue eyes. Habits or features: she has been known in the past to use illegal drugs. We are not aware of any connection to illegal drugs and that this is why she disappeared. She has several tattoos, no scars. For medical conditions, she has suffered in the past from chronic depression. But again, there is no connection to mental health or drugs that would understand that, or say this is why she disappeared. Details of disappearance. Bratcher was last seen in Central City, Kentucky on November 5th, 2021. She was driving a silver 2004 Nissan Altima at the time. She was supposedly dropped off at Jumping Jack's truck stop in the 2300 block of South Main Street in Morgantown, Kentucky, but hasn't been confirmed. The video surveillance cameras at the truck stop showed no sign of her. Parts of the back lot where at the time of her disappearance were not covered by cameras. Bratcher's left eye is missing. She wasn't wearing a prosthetic at the time of her disappearance. She may have just had a patch over the eye and then be wearing dark sunglasses like she had for, almost a year and a half before she had her eye removed. She may be using the last names of Langley or Smith. Her ears and tongue are pierced, and she has writing tattoo, which is pictured here above. It's a saying, but nobody knows exactly completely what the saying may have been. But that is on her thigh of her leg. She has never been heard from again, and she left behind 2 young children. Few details are available in this case, but foul play is suspected. When it comes to her Nissan Altima car, her 2004 gray Nissan Altima, silver, gray, whatever, the car was found later on. So we're not looking for the car or anybody who may have acquired the car back when she disappeared. The car has been found and accounted for. If you know anything about what happened to Brasher, you can call the Muttenberg County Sheriff's Department at 270-338-3345. You cannot remain anonymous when calling a sheriff's department. You have to give your name, and they have your number, so don't bother lying about it. They know who's calling. It does it immediately. There is no, hey, if I hang up within the first 3 seconds, they're unable to track it. Nope, that's not the way things work anymore. They know immediately as soon as they pick up the phone who is calling. Our next missing and endangered case is Kathleen Kelly. No known aliases. She was 12 years of age when she disappeared. She would now be 56 years old. She is a Caucasian female. She disappeared from Springdale, Pennsylvania on 5/22 of 1981. Weight and height, that we wouldn't know that, because she was 12 years old when she disappeared again. Her eye color is brown. Her hair is brown. Unknown for habits or scars or tattoos or medical conditions. Obviously, again, she disappeared when she was 12. These are photos, the two, one all the way to the left and the one in the middle, of what she looked like at the time when she disappeared. The far right is an age-enhanced photo of what she would look like today, approximately. If you know anything about what happened to her, you can call 724-274-9022, or you can report and you can remain anonymous at clicking on missingkids.org. That is the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Now, for Kathleen, I have to read this because it's 3.5 pages long of information about her actual disappearance. Okay? Kathleen, again, disappeared May 22nd, 1981. That day, she went to the Chess Arena skating rink, roller skating rink. She went there in Cheswick, Pennsylvania, with her brother-in-law, her nieces, nephews, who were close to Kathleen's age. Kathleen's brother-in-law and sister, Judy Stanko, who were over 20 years older than Kathleen, both worked at the ring. At some point during the day, Kathleen got bored, left the chess arena, and walked 8 blocks to her sister's home that her sister Stanko, I'm not making up, that's how it's pronounced, who was at home caring for her own infant daughter. They spoke for about an hour, and then Kathleen decided to walk the 6 additional blocks home at that time. Stanko asked if she really wanted to walk or if she wanted a ride, because she offered her a ride to her home. She said that she would be fine and set out in the direction of her home. Her sister believed the reason why she didn't want a ride is because she may have had something else planned between her house and going home. Maybe going to go see another friend, or she, had something else that she wanted to do. But she kind of got the idea she doesn't want to ride and she wants to walk the 6 blocks, and she's already walked this far. There's something else going on here. Oh, it gets a lot darker and creepier from here, ladies and gentlemen. Kathleen's niece, Kimberly Roberts, was about 4 years older than Kathleen, and the girls were good friends. Robertson believed Kathleen was not abducted, but left on purpose and did not plan to return. She said there were unspecified problems in Kathleen's household at the time, but she avoided talking about them. The police also treated the case as a runaway. She's 12 years old. They treated it as a runaway on the onset, and then from there for the next couple of years afterwards, they treated it as a runaway case. About 9 or 10 years after Kathleen's disappearance, Robertson got a strange phone call at her Springdale home when someone who just simply said, "You know who I am fine." The telephone reported, the company, Ma Bell, or Bell Phones at the time, reported only that an incoming call came in that day, but there was no other data of like who actually called. But again, the only thing they said was, "You know who I am fine," and then ended the call. She got several other calls later on where someone would call and not speak. In the preceding weeks after that initial call, she would always ask the caller, "Is this Kathleen? If you would please say something if you were Kathleen," and then the person would hang up. Robertson also believes Kathleen didn't disappear when she supposedly disappeared, which is her aunt's listed date of disappearance. She says the aunt has one day that Kathleen disappeared, but she believes it was a completely different day altogether. Kathleen's case and remains open, and her family is hoping that she is out there alive again. And back to the photos here. Again, this is what she may look like to the far right. And those are the photos of what she looked like in about the time. You can see from the one in the middle, her hair was a lot lighter in color than the solid dark. It looks like it may have blondish highlights. Maybe it was bleached from the sun or whatever around the time that she disappeared. All right. Additionally, it keeps on going. Later on, years after she disappeared, at the chess arena, the roller skating ring where she was at and she left, a former janitor who had been fired from there had died in a car accident. While they were cleaning out the estate of this former janitor, only referred to as Ray, R-A-Y, they found a treasure trove of pornographic pictures of underage girls. This may be connected to the reason why she left that day. They can't say for sure that this janitor, who worked at the chess arena, had anything to do with her, but it's definitely, if nothing else, it's suspicious and it needs to be investigated. There is no photos of Ray or any more information about where he may have lived. Our last missing case that it will remain for the remainder of 2026 is of William Edward Finley II, also known as Bill, Eddie, or Ed. He was 22 or 23 years of age when he vanished. He would be in his 70s today. He is a Caucasian male. He disappeared from the last known location was either Prescott, Wisconsin, or Hastings, Minnesota, in the summer or later part of 77 and summer of 78. He is 5'10", 155 pounds, 165 pounds in 1978. Okay, obviously people gain weight and lose weight, but that was a pretty slim, back then. Brown hair, bluish green eyes. Habits and features: he smoked cigarettes. He has a birthmark. We are not releasing the information about the birthmark. And at this point, if he is alive, he is possibly a diabetic. Well, there's no photo. What are we supposed to look for? Well, in that case, look at me. Yes, this is my missing brother. He looks a lot like me, like it says below the photo. In brief, my brother was estranged from our family for opposing my father's strict religious beliefs. I grew up the first part of my life in the Roman Catholic Church, and my brother rebelled against the Roman Catholic and Catholicism in general. As a result, all known photographs of him were deliberately removed from family photo albums, but we still have surviving photos that were, captured and kept by my uncle that we now have possession of, pictures of him, and we do not wish to share them with anyone. He may have served in the U.S. Armed Forces between 1979 and 1980. He was at one point in the early, like cadets program for the Air Force, but we believe that he may have enlisted in the Air Force, or if nothing else, maybe he didn't make it through boot camp or something, but he may have served between 1979 and 1980. We do have his social security number, and we know that it has not been used in over a decade. And we're not going to say where in America it was used. He is not listed on the Social Security death database or in any state death database. If you know anything about where my brother may be today, or his family, or anything else, you can click on the link there for missingpersons.gov for Wisconsin missing people. Some of the information that I have here has been purposely withheld, as we are sick and tired of getting wackanuts, who contact us with false lead or want us to join a seance or whatever it might be, or someone who can see the past and the future, or after inheritance money or other wacky stuff. Here's a little piece of statistical information for you. Between 2001 and 2024, 389,119 children under the age of 11 were returned to their parents, taken by non-custodial parents. Most have been reported missing at that point. When returned, they were missing for 90-day period. They are now home, due in part by people knowing something, seeing something, and saying something. 389,119 people in that 23-year period were taken by a non-custodial parent, and they were gone for 90 days. Do you have a child? If you have a child or a grandchild or anyone that you care about, imagine them disappearing for over 90 days. What that would do to you. And that happened. And it happens every single year. Did you know you can support my content in all of the following ways? Starting in January of 2026, you can buy gifts during live streams and after. Super chat, super stickers during streams. Super thanks anytime after a stream. Channel membership for $1.99 a month or 6 cents a day. It's actually 4 3/4 cents after YouTube fees. Purchase, swag merchandise during and after. PayPal direct donations anytime, or join the Patreon at any time. You can support and reach out and support this content in different ways. Your break is not over with yet. Because we ran extra long with the 3 tonight, I added an additional 5 minutes to the time that you would be here taking your break. With that in mind, you have 1 minute and 10 seconds left with the additional time that I added. There definitely are a lot of crazies out there. Well, thank you very much, Kitty Coo, for gifting the channel membership. And there is JDR. Mustard Mischief. Hollywood Grapevine. Welcome to the channel membership. Smiling on time. I'm sorry, I had to put my glasses back on. Smiling on time. Welcome. And Mary Frederick, was it? Yes, Mary Frederick. Good evening. Welcome to 411's channel membership and everybody else here with us tonight. That was super nice of you, Kitty Coo. All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further delay, let's get back to our normal programming. Question number 11 is now on your screen. What nickname did Gacy give to his handcuff trick? Was it A, the magic loop, B, Chicago tie, C, the clown's knot, or D, the Houdini trick of tricks? Question number 11 of 20. Short and nice, I'm going to agree with what you said there. I really hope that whatever's going on with Cement Shoes, he finds himself in a location, with people around him who care and want to take care of him and help him. Be happy and safe. Sprinkled Donut is here. And thank you, Gemma, for gifting the channel membership to Sprinkled Donut. Rykart. Good evening, Rykart. Welcome to tonight's trivia. Question number 11. The correct answer is D as in dog. He called it his Houdini trick of tricks. The handcuff trick. Here, put on these magical handcuffs. I'll show you how to get out of them. He put them on, and that was next to the last thing that they ever did, was seeing him put the handcuffs on him. Because shortly after that, he would murder each and every one of them. If he tied them up with the rope or with the handcuffs. He called the handcuff trick the Houdini trick of tricks. And how do we know that? That comes directly from his interview with Robert Ressler, the FBI agent. When he spoke with him, he talked about the actual handcuff and rope trick. And he said he called the handcuff trick the Houdini trick of tricks. Question number 12. What item did Gacy buy 37 of that were identical in every way, closely examining each for flaws? Was it A, men's white brief underwear, B, black painted handcuffs, C, white women's tube socks, or D, bright green men's underwear? How did anyone allow him this? Just weird, right? I'm actually going to have a switch facility. This one is a nightmare. I'm talking to the social worker tomorrow morning to get switched. I really pray that it works out for you, Cement Shoes. Was he also a Boy Scout? Gacy? No. He was not a Boy Scout. He was in something with the young Legionnaires or something like that at one point. But Gacy most of his life was a Legionnaire member. He was also a member of the Loyal Order of the Moose. Oh boy! All right. I gotta scroll up here. Gone Girl gifted 10 memberships. Thank you very much, Gone Girl. Sal, welcome to the channel memberships. Really happy 33. Cali Gal. And Susan NC, guessing that's Susan, North Carolina. Welcome. And Marilyn M. And Scout Inquirer and Chloe Raquel A. Well, sorry for butchering that. I'll scroll back up as soon as I get it turned from blue. Mama Mia and TP Limberg. Welcome everyone to channel membership and to 411 Now. And thank you again, Gone Girl. I appreciate it very much, Gone Girl. I hope that each and every one of the new channel members enjoys the content. Please go to my channel and look for the playlist on the dashboard for channel member only videos. Additionally, on top of that, if you're a new channel member, please understand every video that I put out, you get a day in advance, viewing of it as just a channel member. Every video goes live for channel members only for one entire day before it goes out to the public. So it may not be in the channel member only playlist, but every video goes out to channel members a day early. But question number 12. The correct answer is A as in apple, the creepy white underwear. Question number 13. Working in his own defense of the death sentence, Gacy was allowed access to what evidence? Was it A, DNA evidence collected, B, photos of all the bodies, C, witnesses' addresses, or D, law enforcement addresses? Working in his own defense of the death sentence, Gacy was allowed access to what evidence? If you've seen the Robert Ressler interview in its entirety, you'll be creeped out by this entire question in line of them. Because Gacy was given access to all of it. Everything. If, I wish I could put that that interview on my channel, but obviously the Ressler family owns the copyright protects the entire video and interview. The FBI owned it first, but they gave up the rights to the video and the content. They didn't want the tapes and they didn't want the interviews with Gacy after Gacy was executed. But I'm sure that they've worked out something with the Ressler family. They can't rebroadcast it, but they can certainly have a copy of it at Quantico. But the answer to this question is B as in boy. If you ever get a chance to watch the Robert Ressler interview with John Wayne Gacy, the unedited, he has 3-ring binders that he keeps on bringing out and setting on the table. And flipping through them to each and every victim. Not only is there a photo of the victim beforehand, what they look like when they disappeared. There's a photo of their body as it was recovered from underneath the house. Then there's a breakdown on the individual background of each and every one of the victims. And Gacy is just sitting there and he's happy as that fat creepy man could be, with all of his victims right there in front of him and these 3-ring binders. And they're massive 3-ring binders that he is sitting there flipping through as he's talking to Ressler about the victims and what took place in that basement of his house and the rooms of the house. And you could just see it every time he gives that sly little look like, I got you. This is what I have. He got to relive every one of the murders all over again, day in and day out, with that in his cell with him every single day, because he worked as part of his own defense of the death sentence. He was afforded the ability to see all the evidence against him and have access to it. That is creepy as hell. He re-victimized every single one of them over and over and over again after their deaths. Question number 14. What did Gacy like to dress up as when he visited sick children and elderly in the local hospitals, plural? Was it A, a clown, B, a minotaur, C, a donkey, or D, a chicken from KFC? And that sicko Gacy loved reliving the crimes by looking up. He did. He got to relive it over and over again. He was a clown, a killer clown. A killer clown from outer space? No? All right, that's a different subject matter. Killer clown from outer space. I think it was, I might be wrong though. I think it was Sig Sputnik, the band, who had an album called The Killer Clown from Outer Space. It was about Gacy being an astronaut and a killer clown. No one remembers Sig Sputnik. Trust me. Pogo the Clown and KFC. I have a Gmail. I can't access my Yahoo. Question number 14. The correct answer is A, as in apple. He loved to dress up like the creepy clown you see here on your screen. A killer clown from hell, right? Colonel Sanders. He did dress like Colonel Sanders when he was managing KFC's. The shirt, the suit, the bow tie, all of it. He just didn't have the hair. Well, his hair was dark brown at the time. It wasn't gray like Colonel Sanders, but he definitely dressed like it. Question number 15. After Gacy was released from prison the first time, what did he do for work? Was it A janitor at a halfway house, B, a drug counselor, C, head of the Republican Party, or D, a law enforcement officer? I have never seen the movie, Rycart. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. There was a band in the 80s called Sig Sputnik. Sputnik, as in the orbital thing that the Russians sent in outer space in low orbit. But they had a song called "Killer Clown from Outer Space" about Gacy being a killer clown from outer astronaut from was a killer clown. I don't even know how to describe the music of Sig Sputnik, but it's one of those things in my brain. It's like useless information for some reason you keep for a lifetime because you heard it once, and it's like or like the music. I guess you could call the music metal pop. It was like pop music, but metal influenced, I guess. Terrible. Amway, Amway salesman. Question number 15. The correct answer is A as in apple. You are correct, Kitty Q. He was a janitor at a halfway house. This would eventually lead Gacy into what he did later on with his business. Not only was he a general contractor in building things, he was also ran a janitorial company, and they worked for everyone from the Republican Party, and that's how he met the Carters, and had his photo taken with June Carter, and how he was able to hobnob with people that were way out of his financial level, or people would normally be around him. That's how he got into it, by having this janitorial company, and but he, after he got out of jail for sodomy, he started working as a janitor at a halfway house. Not the house he lived in. He lived in his own home, but he became a janitor. He needed a job. He couldn't go back to KFC after that. They didn't want him there. All right. Next question. Which one of the following was not a known used alibi by John Wayne Gacy? Was it A, John W. Gacy, B, Jack Henley, C, John Norman, or D, Jeff Clinton? Again, we are looking for which one was not a known alias for John Wayne Gacy. Did John Wayne Gacy run for political office? Yes. He ran for, was it comptroller or something with the city? Parks and Recreation or Parks Department or something like that. He had political ambitions, he really did. But something else took up all of his time. Killing young men took up his time instead. Lieutenant RN, Sweet Universe, Kathleen are going, and Shortness are going with D, and Kitty Q's going with Polly Shore. Polly Shore. Lawrence Welk interpees. He never used the alias of Polly Shore or Lawrence Welk or Colonel Sanders. The correct answer to this question is C as in cat, John Norman. He never used the alias of John Norman. The picture you see here is of John Norman. If you want to look up what John Norman was convicted of, you can. But he used all of the others as aliases over the years. John W. Gacy, no middle name, just the middle initial of W. Jack Hanley and Jeff Clinton. He used all of those as aliases over the years. Why would he do it? I don't know. That would be something that you'd have to ask, Gacy about, why he used aliases. But he did. Next, John Wayne Gacy was given 3 IQ tests. What was the average of all 3 IQ tests? Was it A, a 139, B, a 129, C, a 118, or D, a 73? Again, John Wayne Gacy was given 3 IQ tests. What was the average of all 3? I need to get myself another water. Are we playing How's What to Be a Millionaire? Fruit Mad World? No. True Crime Trivia. We're answering questions tonight about John Wayne Gacy, the killer clown. What was John Wayne Gacy's average between the 3 IQ tests given to him? And he was not given them all at the same time. The first one was that it was administered was shortly after his arrest and sentencing. After the trial and sentencing, I mean, not arrest. That shortly thereafter. Then he was given a second one later on. And this is after the sentencing of the murders, not the sodomy charge, beforehand. And then the third one was just about a year, and I think it was a year, 8 months or so before he finally was put to death. Fruitland World, welcome to tonight's trivia and to 411 now. All right, the answer to this question on John Wayne Gacy's IQ test average is C as in cat, a 118. 118. He did have a score of 129 on one of them, and obviously another one was much lower, but his average between the 3 of them was a 118. Next question is, from start to finish, how long did the Gacy trial last? And how many days was it on the front page news? Was it A, 4 weeks? The trial took 5 weeks. It was on the front page. B, 8 weeks trial, 8 weeks on the front page. Or C, 10 weeks for the trial and 13 weeks on the front page. Or D, 9-week trial and 15 weeks on the front page. How long was the actual trial and how long was it on the front page of the paper? Question number 18. He was smarter than a rotted potato. From start to finish, how long did the Gacy trial last, and how many days was the front page news? Did I say weeks or? Well, that's a mistake there. It should be how many weeks was it front page, not days. I just saw that. Well, there's a mistake. Second mistake of the night. First one was an A instead of an in place of, should have been an A, and it was an S. That was a mistake. And here it says how many days was it front? It should be weeks. How many weeks was it on the front page of the paper? Slam dunk, 1 week. You would think it would have been a slam dunk. The only thing that he was and his attorneys were really trying to do was stop the death penalty. That was what they were trying to do. Just keep him alive. But they failed at that. How long was the trial, and how many weeks was it on the front page? The correct answer is B, as in boy. The trial took 8 weeks, and it was on the front page of the paper for the entire 8-week period. Next question. In 1994, Gacy was executed for his murders. What fruit did he eat before execution? Was it A, strawberries, B, nails, C, cardboard, or D, plastic? Read the question again. In 1994, Gacy was executed for his murders. What fruit did he eat before being executed? You pity the jury? I don't know if I'd want to sit through a case like that. Every day of the trial for that entire 8-week period, the gallery of the in the courtroom was full of nothing but the victim's family members. Yeah. They had to sit there and listen through to each and every victim and what was found in the home and what Gacy did. Stay alive, stay alive. Stay alive. Now I got a picture of John Travolta in my head wearing, that brown jacket, walking down the sidewalk to the Bee Gees. Thanks, Reichert. Have to look up a lot of the pics. In 1994, John Wayne Gacy was convicted and executed for his murders. What fruit did he eat? The correct answer is A, as an apple. I threw this simple bone out there. Strawberries. He didn't eat nails. He didn't eat cardboard or plastic. He should have ate that. But as we know from the last meal of John Wayne Gacy, he had KFC chicken. He had strawberries. He drank some soda and had a bunch of shrimp and French fries. He gorged himself before he was executed. Next question. Which federal agency did not take part in the case against John Wayne Gacy? Was it A, the IRS, B, the ATF, C, the FBI, or D, the U.S. Marshals? Question 20 of 20. Which federal agency did not take part in the case against John Wayne Gacy? Which federal agency did not take part in the case against John Wayne Gacy? B, because I don't know what that is. B is the ATF, which stands for the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, ATF. IRS is the Internal Revenue Service. FBI, F is the Federal Bureau of Investigations. And the U.S. Marshals is law enforcement. The PTA. the PTA didn't take part. You're right, Inner Peace. Alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. Rycon's going with A because he donated his KFC restaurant to them. Kitty Kitty's going with B? I don't know. Question mark? Could be. We don't know. We'll find out in a minute here. Which federal agency did not take part in the case against John Wayne Gacy? The correct answer is D as in dog, the U.S. Marshals. Here's what each of the other ones did. The IRS looked into, did he properly report all of his income that he was making from his contracting business? ATF looked into him transporting alcohol across state lines. The FBI got into it because obviously they were looking at, did he commit federal crimes by dumping these individuals in the Des Plaines River? And did he take victims from across state lines or across state lines before killing them? The U.S. Marshals only hunt people who are wanted for crimes. They are the only ones that did not take part in the investigation in case against John Wayne Gacy. All right, how did you do tonight on trivia? This is completely optional to grade yourself. Some people like to, some people just are here for fun. If did you get an A, a B, a C, a D, or are you just a rock star? You can't judge me based solely on my previous knowledge before putting this trivia night together. I would have gotten 19 out of the 20. Got questions or a topic that you would like to see covered on trivia night? I strive to have the most accurate trivia night online. However, I do make mistakes, as we know. Two of them already tonight. I am only human after all. If you've seen an error or have a follow-up question, you may, or just a trivia topic that you'd like to see covered, you can fire me an email at the email address that is on your screen. Emails are answered in the order they are received, but please keep in mind, I get thousands of emails per week, especially since I put my email address out there like this every single week. The unbelievable amount of spam and junk emails I get is unbelievable. If I don't answer back right away, wait a week and send it again. And lastly, Thank you for playing along on trivia night tonight with everyone here. I hope you enjoyed tonight's trivia night. Rykar, a big old goose egg, 0-0. Well, you are? I didn't know that, Will. You are what? KFC is last meal. Thank you for putting up with my goofy sense of humor. There's nothing to put up with there, Mel. Everybody's welcome with, they're whoever they are. That's what I want. I want everybody to be themselves when they come here. You mean you're not perfect? Say it ain't so, right? You are only human. That is absolutely true. I am only human, and I do make mistakes. I am flawed. I just wonder how many buried under the house. Even Google has different answers. Underneath, short and nice to answer your question, 33 bodies were recovered from underneath Gacy's house. 33. He threw 3 additional bodies into the Plains River, making it 36. The FBI believes he killed closer to 38, 39, total is what they believe his actual count is. Because, again, there are 33 underneath the house, 33. 3 in the river, that's 36. And then there was the 2 that were, murdered and found and discarded in the same manner from downtown Chicago who were lured away from gay nightclubs. That makes 38. And that's what the FBI believes his real murder count was 38, 39. Being flawed is my greatest strength, Will. Having a sense of humor and being able to laugh at yourself, that's got to be your strongest, suit, and strength. Don't take everything, literally in this world. We all have a finite amount of time on this earth. Damn killer clown. But what about the one under the barbecue pit at the house? The one that was next to the garage or the garage floor? I think they count all of those as the part of the 33, Kitty Q. So maybe I should clarify that and just say there were 33 victims that were found at the house or on the property, because they tore up the garage as well, the concrete there, because he said that he poured that new slab there. I think there was one victim there that wasn't. He ran out of places to put them. In a nutshell, that's why he took the last 3 went into the river. I laugh at myself all the time, my friend. There you go. You're the GOAT, and I don't know about being the GOAT, but thank you. I appreciate. Human League. The band? Human League? Well, I'm glad you had fun, Kathleen. That's the entire point. Why sit here and go through this entire trivia night if you don't have fun, if you don't enjoy it? Even if you don't like the subject matter itself, there's a great bunch of people here, in the chat that just love to hang out and and talk, and that's worth it right there. Life is too serious. If we can't laugh at ourselves, we are doomed to perish in sadness and disappointment. True. Is that who sang that song? Human League? Are you asking about Staying Alive? Staying Alive was by the Bee Gees, right? And I'm not joking. I probably have the album down there. I know well, if I don't have the album, I have the laser disc for Saturday Night Fever. I hate the subject matter. Love hanging out with everyone. There you go. Greatest of all time. Yeah. I don't know if I'm the greatest of all time, but I try. I try to do my best. And I'm trying to make, trivia night more enjoyable by changing the things that I have changed, and the structure of it, doing away with, the finer nuances like, hey, what was John Wayne Gacy's favorite candy? Butterscotch. That was his favorite candy. But who would know that? Questions like that. Or where was John Wayne Gacy born? Who cares? Born to make mistakes, says Joe Tallchief. Sweet Universe. But I was telling, I think Kiddiku was the one that asked the question the other day on my Saturday morning stream. Enjoys the video clips, or maybe it was Francie who asked about it and said that they enjoy the video clips. I want to include them more archival footage, but I'm going to cut this down in my explanation as much as possible, and just to say that there are a lot of people out there in this universe, especially online, who will claim anything and everything they can as theirs and their artistic work to try to make a quick buck off of somebody else. And what they do is they have claimed, the sound of a telephone ring, something as nuanced as that. They're saying that is their copyright material. If you use that sound of a telephone, an old telephone ring, they claim it and say, you got to pay me part of your AdSense money. That's how we get paid as creators, AdSense. You got to pay me a fraction, a share of that, because you're using my material. So on top of that, there are people out there who have claimed all of the old newscasts, and interviews with these killers as their artistic work. They didn't do anything. All they did was upload it to a YouTube channel where you have to, the moment you upload something to YouTube, you're telling YouTube that you are the rightful copyright owner of it if it's never been there before. And they go to the internet archives. They find the actual video of like John Wayne Gacy talking to Robert Ressler, and they claim it as their own and then upload it to YouTube. And then YouTube, in their machine learning, say, oh, you own that. Okay, that's your work. And now when anybody uses that actual video, they have to prove that the other person is not the original maker of that content. And in the meantime, all of the revenue for all of it that I would make, everything from the trivia night, would sit in a pot over here and wait for me to confirm to YouTube that everything that I did was of my own work. Now, that's a hell of a lot of work to try to do that for maybe a 15, 30-second clip, because there could be 18 different claims, within that, that 15-second claim. You hear a car go by in the background of a news reporter of a honking horn. Someone's claimed that. You can bet your last dollar on it. And the people who will claim music, they'll claim, videos, movies, all kinds of stuff as their own. It'll drive you absolutely bonkers trying to get it to work. And that's the short version. Maybe we can do a voiceover of all the phone ringing and all that. I'm sure I can duplicate some stuff with my own voice. It's maddening, Kitty Q. It really is. It's like, so a couple weeks ago I played the shower scene from Psycho, where Norman Bates comes in on the first victim and kills her in the shower. After I that trivia night, I got no less than 8 different claims that the sound of the water was claimed by one person, and one bullshit, name of a company said that they owned the sound of that water, pouring on the curtain in that shower. Another person claimed the eek, 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 eek sound, that they, that he put in there. Another one put in, claim for the visual artistry of black and white. I'm not joking. I won them all. You win them all. It just takes time because I have to fill out the form for every one of them and prove that Alfred Hitchcock was the one that did all of it. He's the one that was the copyright holder of it. If anyone's going to get money off of that, it should be the estate of Alfred Hitchcock, not some guy who's going by the name of Monkey Records from Galveston, New Mexico. He didn't make that shower scene. He didn't make that sound effect. But that's the way the world works. And even if you do overlays of it, they go after the the visuals, part of it. I mean, I'm not joking. I had somebody claim that they were the ones who invented basically the black and white genre. That's how TV started out. It's insane. If anyone can take possession of intellectual properties, they have a huge fight on their hands. Yeah. But they try. They try. Before I sold, and I don't own the copyrights to it anymore, in case you guys are not aware, I used to have the copyrights to the movie Last Man Alive, starring Vincent Price. Warner Brothers and MGM Music Studio and Movie Studio, they decided they didn't want the movie. They never copyright protected it at all. I claimed it, and I had it for, I don't know, 4 years, almost 5. But I just recently sold it off in 2025. But it was there. I didn't claim it the way these people are claiming, like the ringing of a sound and everything else. I had to file the paperwork and pay to get the the copyright of it. I could have done anything with it. I could have made DVDs and movies, and burned them and sold them off if anybody uses DVDs anymore. I could have done all kinds of stuff. I could have made movie posters. Now the new copyright holder can. They can do all that. Oh my God, I see other YouTubers bringing up YouTubers' content to talk about. Geez, they just speed up the audio. Well, now, short and nice. There is what's called the first rights doctrine. And underneath the first rights doctrine, if I do something like this video right here, and if I say something and I'm a complete idiot, another YouTuber can take that content and they can put it on their channel and they can show it in length, unedited, or edit it down to make me look like even a bigger buffoon than I am normally. But and then all they're doing is they have to add critique, but they have to change artistically what that clip is for. Now, that's where you see like the a lot of people who will have videos of reaction videos, like Irish individual tries KFC for the first time. Those are reaction videos. There's those. Then there's people who are critiquing other people's work. They are changing the artistic intellectual property just enough by critiquing it from its original the way it was, So they can get away with it underneath the first, use doctrine. That is completely legal. Can you do that with an older clip of a television? Yes, but at the same time, it falls. It goes from like, here's your copyright holder, here's your gray area, here's where it's illegal. It falls into that, and it kind of bounces into that gray zone for underneath the first use. Unfortunately, and this is the hardest part that a lot of people will never understand, is that as the internet has grown and where it is today over, say, 10 years ago or even a year ago, and how fast it is growing and continuing to grow. And now with AI coming in, it's going to get a lot more muddier than it's going to get better. But anyways, as the internet has grown, Congress and law enforcement has not kept up with laws to protect intellectual properties and the artistic works of individuals. They haven't kept up with it, nor have they kept up with cyber crimes, bullying, stalking, doxing of other individuals who, and doing it for harm. Law enforcement hasn't been able to keep up with it because, those who write the laws and pass the laws drop the ball, and now they're like, I got other things to do. I need to get a couple $100 million for a pig farm, on an island, or a bridge to nowhere, or I need to, sweeten, the coffers for my brother-in-law who has a construction company who wants to take over a farm, and we're going to call it, fair use. So that's what they're working on. They're doing that instead of keeping up with where the internet is. The stories I tell is my poetry collection. What insanity in black and white. What a novel idea. Did you know, though, Mel? Tell you a little bit of side note about television. When television was first invented, it could have always been in color, and there never would have been black and white television. But General Electric held a lot of patents at that time and wanted to make a buttload of freaking money. So what they did was they said, okay, it's going to take this much to make this color television, and it's going to cost this much money to make this, this black and white. They then went to their buddies at Westinghouse and a couple other manufacturers who made, television, the parts, tubes, and stuff like that for the television. And they said, how about we just bust out these black and whites and start mass producing them all, and we can get them cheaper, and we can profit that much more on each and every black and white, and then we will roll out color. The color television predates the black and white television by almost 9 years by the U.S. Patent Office. 9 years. Right? I know you all wanted to know that little tidbit. Good night, Sal. You have a great week. Live video of trials. Yeah, I stay away from live streaming of trials. I've seen more people step into a giant pile of excrement over that than it's worth. My family was the last to have a black and white television on our block. My dad was cheap. I sweet universe. I remember when my dad bought our first color TV. It came in a console that was bigger than this table lengthwise, not as wide, but lengthwise. But it also had a record player, an 8-track player in it, and it had a television in it. And then it had these plexiglass sliders in the front that covered up the speakers, and then slots where you could put the records in them. But that was our first color television. Before that, we had a little tiny black and white television that sat on the counter. And I do believe I'm correct in saying the counter was orange in the house at the time. It might have been pea green. This was the 1970s after all. But that's when we got our television was sat there next to the dining room, because the kitchen was like kind of like an open floor plan. That the dining room was here, so it was open to it. Yeah. Orange from mica countertop. The floor used to have like this green and brown and orange like leaf pattern on the tiles on the floor. The house is still there. That house is actually owned. See, when we sold it to a he was a police officer. He then retired. He since passed away. His son inherited the home. He lived there maybe 30 years before they moved. And the family who owns it now, they're kind of like old family friends. But I mean, I can go see it anytime I want. They're really cool. They love seeing me. Of course, I got to drive all the hell there. That's in Wisconsin. Tubes, not too long ago. The old tube televisions. It wasn't a financial issue, but television wasn't around when I was growing up. I was born and raised in Azores, Portugal, and there was no TV signal in the islands. No. I love the movie Boogie Nights because they got the 70s so right. That wasn't Boogie Nights Marky Mark Wahlberg? That was a good movie, Boogie Nights. Yeah, I mean, I guess that didn't think about how television advanced around the world. I mean, my grandmother never owned a television, and her house never saw a television any time I ever went there. Her entire life, well, my life until she passed, there was never a television. She used to sit and she would read books all day long. I mean, she'd wake up in the morning, she'd pour herself a cup of tea, and then she would start reading, and she would read all day. She had this big, huge, freaking ceramic like ashtray that she put in front of her, and she'd just chain smoke cigarettes and read all day long. And it didn't matter what the subject matter was. If it was a dime store romance book, murder mystery, a book on auto mechanic repair, that she just read everything. She was always a prolific reader of everything and anything. But she was just all day long. You couldn't be in the room with her. It was so bad. Smoke everywhere. Even as a kid, you'd like. But she never had a television. Not a fan of Marky Mark, though. He's definitely made some mistakes in his life. Good thing was there was no TV signal. That's why we became really good at human communication. We also read a lot. Yeah. My grandmother worked for the United States Post Office. She'd do her paper route, and then deliver all the packages and everything else in her small town that she lived in. and then back home just to read and do the whole damn thing all over again. She had the last 15 years of her life though. She was they forced her to retire. She didn't want to retire, but they forced her because of a back issue. I never saw her go to the doctor though. I used to spend my summers there because I had 4 uncles that were somewhat close to me in age. But I used to spend my summers there. When I was a little kid, I broke the needle on the record player. Then deny. Not sure why, but just thought about that. Have you ever heard of a television being called the boob tube? Oh, yeah. That's what we always referred to it as, the boob tube. If you had an AI photo, would that be your property you created? It's a good question, Short and Nice. I don't know the actual answer to that. Would it be you created it, or did AI create it? AI created it for you. Was the photo something you supplied and then AI altered the photo? And who owned the photo? If it was of yourself, there's a lot of gray area there that it'd be interesting to find out what the answer would be. I'm sure that when TVs came out, religious extremists said that TVs were the devil. Oh, Reichardt, I can guarantee you that. One of the other things about my grandmother is, to give you a little more context to that is, so she married a preacher. They were married for about 30 years, 35 years, somewhere in there. She was widowed. My grandmother was. And then she married the preacher who was actually, he was the head of the church that she went to. Because my grandmother was Lutheran. But anyways, he railed against anything that was popular culture, I guess you could call it. But the man was filthy beyond belief. Oh my God, he owned probably half of the town. The small town that they lived in. He owned. If you wanted to rent a house, he owned it. He damn near bought everything he could. And then when he died, he gave 100% of his entire estate back to the church. My grandmother got nothing, buckets, after all that. But he really hated television, rock and roll, any of that stuff. The youth movement, civil rights. He hated it all. He was a great man. Besides that, a bigot. He was definitely a bigot. But that's I'm using today's standards to for when he was alive and that was happening. He was a bigot then. I mean, everybody knew it. He was a racist. But that's using 2026 standards to then. It was more acceptable to for separation and for the way he treated people back then. But my granny was a ballerina. Maria Tall Chief were cousins. Their fathers were brothers. Oh. Radio plays were big when I was growing up. I used to listen to I can't remember the name of the I want to say that it was Art Bell, but it probably wasn't Art Bell. This is back 70, let's just say 75 through 1980-ish, that 5-year period there. I used to go with my dad to collect lumber because my dad was a master carpenter and cabinet maker. And he was making, at the time, church pews for the Catholic Church. And he was building them out of old growth timber. So whenever he heard that someone was tearing down a barn or something like that, we'd load up in the station wagon with the trailer hooked up to it, and we'd go to Timbuktu, somewhere in Wisconsin, or Iowa or Indiana, on a road trip to find, this barn being torn down, and he'd make a deal to buy, X amount of board feet length of wood. I got the hammer out nails, huh? And then my mom used to always pack us liverwurst sandwiches. I couldn't stand them. Still can't stand the smell of liverwurst today. Saturday morning cartoons were big when you were little. I want to say it was Art Bell, Sweet Universe, but I mean, it might have been somebody else. It was a syndicated radio show, from what I remember, because we always listened to it in the car. The theater was big when you were growing up. Never got into the theater until I moved here. I was that was 19. It was late 80s. We didn't live anywhere near a movie theater. In the small town that I lived in growing up, we didn't have a movie theater. Didn't have a drive-in. Didn't have a movie house where you go watch movies. There are like 5 businesses at that time. 5 businesses downtown. There was a restaurant, a bar, a hardware hunting store, fishing tackle store, kind of think of like an Ace Hardware, but with everything. Then there was a women's and kids clothing store, and then there was a I don't know, we call it like implement store, farm equipment, implements. They sold tractors, they sold fertilizer, they kind of like I've never seen anything like it since then. Ranch and home, Fleet Farm, kind of store, kind of like that, but a lot smaller. That's the only thing we had downtown. No stoplight, no traffic lights, nothing at all. They have a traffic light now. It's a 4-way blinking yellow. They have a traffic light now. That came in 2005. They put the traffic light in. There's a lot more businesses now, but that's all that was there when I was a kid, was those 5. I've tasted it with crackers. Love drive-ins. A&W root beer. I have an entire collection of A&W root beer. These are the little mini mugs. And then I have the full-size mugs, the big ones. And then I've got the smaller ones, the big Herkin ones. When A&W root beer, drive-in was closing, I went to them and I said, I want to buy some of the trays, like, they put on the windows and stuff. Those were all sold. They didn't have any left. But I got to buy a whole bunch of the little mini mugs and a whole bunch of the bigger mugs, like the very large ones to the small ones, and then some regular glassware. But I keep these here on the shelf. These are me and my friend use them as shot glasses. Still can't believe my brother survived the bed of the truck with my parents driving 70 miles per hour on the freeway, on the highway. He used to always take my girlfriends to the drive-ins. Huh. Grew up in a small fishing villages with no stores, and we had outhouses. Feel old. That would definitely make you feel old. You know, outdoor plumbing, no indoor plumbing. Where I grew up, it's very rural. It's a farming community. Most people either got together. This is something my wife finds exact. She's like, that's real. Back home, we have two different what they're called dinner clubs. Dinner, like you eat dinner late middle of the day. Dinner, dinner, dinner clubs. We had a German dinner club, and then we had a Norwegian dinner club. That's where you'd see all your neighbors. Is that at the dinner club? That was the the town's focal point for anything. They didn't just it was their dinner clubs, but whenever there was a funeral or something like that, they would always hold them there. Dinner club. She thinks that's the most foreign thing. She's never been anywhere really, that far from home. She was born here in this city. She's lived here, her entire life. So, oh yeah, Little Falls. That's where my grandmother was the postal post office, I guess. One woman. Then it's grown a hell of a lot since then. Little Falls, Minnesota. I got family all the way up, from International Falls all the way down to the Twin Cities. I got family spread all over the state of Minnesota and Wisconsin, all the way from the top, going down to across the border from Hastings. Outhouses were very common in the country all those years ago. Yeah. Love A&W root beer rack cart. I wanted to collect it up because it was always nostalgic for me. I've got an entire cabinet full of the freaking mugs to this day. No one ever uses them now. Because damn, they're heavy. Outhouses. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap up tonight's live stream. I want to again thank everyone for being here for trivia night. At the email address, that was on the screen for suggestions, fire off a suggestion. But I have no trivia subject, as you saw tonight. There was no next week's trivia. I have nothing done at all when it comes for trivia for next week. I don't have a single question or any research or anything done. New year, for some crazy reason, I thought there was another week left, in 2025, and I was going to use the Gacy as the last one for 2025. Then I realized, oh shit, the 28th was the last Sunday of 2025. So, fire off a suggestion to that email address. Thank you again to everyone. Thank you to everybody, who purchased, Gone Girl, and and everybody else who purchased, channel memberships tonight and gifted them to people. I appreciate it. To each and every one of you. Stay safe out there, and I will see you again. There's this week. I have at least 2 shorts videos coming out this week, and 1 long form content video. So that's coming up this week. And again, if you're a new channel member and you're still here, I have everything that the video, full length videos. You get a day early access to them. You will be notified. New video. All right. In the meantime, everyone, you stay safe out there. I can help you think of who to do, Will. Oh, I've got a. This entire book is filled. I've got. Oh, and I don't know if Cement Shoes is still here. really quickly before I leave. All right. There are 3 suggestions left for Cement Shoes. Cement Shoes has its own pages in here. So those suggestions that are left of Cement Shoes are Mafia, trivia about Mafia, Sean Vincent Gillis, and Meredith Lloyd. Those are the last 3. But Cement Shoes, I truly am thankful that you're alive and you're still kicking it. It means a lot to a lot of people. During the time that you were gone, a lot of people, and I'm not joking, asked about how you were doing. And if I had heard from you or what was going on, if I knew anything. I'm just glad that you're here and that you're doing fine. Or doing everything's going to get better. Like you said, you have that meeting coming up, I guess tomorrow, about getting moved to a new facility that's going to take better care of you. And I hope all of that works out for you. But everyone else, if you're dealing with a health issue or whatever it may be, I really truly hope that you get it resolved or you get some relief. In the meantime, everyone, you all have a great week, and I will see you all again soon. Bye. Yeah, and you stay safe out there. And remember, as Purple likes to point out, you never know who's going to be standing next to you next, and you never know who's going to be knocking at your door. And Reichardt, if you're in the truck lot and somebody knocks on your door, it's probably a truck lizard or a lot lizard.